We got her through the hike, and at the end of the hike, she's got her fists raised, a huge smile on her face. Me being the old AA guy around here, I just looked at that and I thought, oh my God, that is so symbolic of what recovery is. Left alone in isolation, that mountain, that hill, that hike looks too hard to accomplish. But with that sense of community and that connection, the seemingly impossible became possible for her, as it does for all of us. And not only did she make it through that hike because of that connection, she asked me to train her a couple times a week, and now she goes out on almost all of our hikes, and we got her up Whiteface Mountain this summer, and she's the one out on hikes now reaching back for the other person. Well, hey everybody, my name's Dave, and I've been in recovery for 33 years, since 1990, so I've been at this for a little while. My journey with addiction into recovery began before I actually drank or used anything. I think I had some thinking that went on. I got caught with liquor in sixth grade, and I can remember the thinking that went along with it. I brought it to school to impress my friends. I was a really small guy and didn't think I was very well liked. And I thought that liquor could do for me what I couldn't do for myself. So I had something spiritually off, and I didn't feel very fulfilled, even as a small guy. And I would like to say that would be the end of it. I got caught with that liquor in school, and not much happened back then. It was a long time ago, and um, I kind of got scolded in the hallway and told a story about some kids finding some matches and burning the house down. But I did not get the moral of the story. Um, my next adventure with alcohol and drugs was in eighth grade. It was the same kind of thing. I walked into a party with all the older guys. I got handed a bottle of beer, and there was some weed being smoked, and it was back in the 70s, and there was black lights and rock music, and I had a blind date with a girl, and I really thought that I had arrived. And what I know today is I have this illness that differentiates me a little bit, and I didn't just have a couple drinks. As soon as I drank that first beer, I knew that I wanted more, and I got more and more, and uh, fell down the road and scraped my face all up, and had to lie about that. I told a story that I was playing hockey and fell down, and that started this whole journey of hiding and sneaking and drinking and using drugs. And I could tell a whole lot of horror stories about my use. I uh, I had promise as a young kid. I was in top 10% of my class. I was active in sports. I had colleges looking at me. And by the time I was a senior, I was a full-blown alcoholic, and wound up flunking out of college and moving away to work construction, which I never thought I would do. My father was a construction worker, and I saw him come home with smashed fingers and dirty t-shirts, and I swore I would never be like that. And I wound up being exactly like that. And I moved to Texas and worked construction, and was introduced to crystal meth and a bunch of various other drugs, and got arrested several times in succession. Came home in my 20s. I wasn't here a year. I got arrested. My mom saw me taken away in handcuffs, and I swore that that would never happen again. And I meant it when I said that. 5 years after that, I'd met a girl. She had gotten pregnant with my daughter, and now it was time to grow up, right? It was time to become a man. It was time to become a father. And I really wanted all the good things in life that I thought other people had. And the day she was born, which was October 6th of 1989, I was at the hospital, and she was born, and I saw a miracle before my life, before my eyes. I saw life come into this world, and I was overjoyed. Um, the problem is, I had this illness, and as soon as everybody was okay, I acquired that thinking. This seems to dominate my mind at this point in my life that, you know, I need to go party. I need to go take a drink and celebrate. It'll be the last time, right? And I drank into a blackout, got arrested again, and my mom saw me again in handcuffs. And I was kind of in a blackout. I don't really remember a lot of that day, but I remember the look in my mother's eyes and how I was really hurting her. And, my mom was a little person, small like me, and, very nervous and jerky. And I realized that, I contributed to that a lot. You could have put a stack of Bibles in front of me that day, and I meant it with every bit of my being that I promise you I won't drink anymore. I won't drug anymore. It's time to become a father. I'm in trouble again. I'm not sure what all the legalities are going to be about that. 2 weeks later, I found myself drunk, not knowing what was wrong with me. And I began to hate myself with a passion. And that went on for about another year. And I eventually got caught and violated a probation. I got sentenced to some probation and uh, ended up in a 28-day program. And I went in there with this idea because back then the stigma for drug use was so strong. I went in there knowing that I had been arrested for DWI, alcohol use, several times. And I went in there with this mindset, well, I'll just tell them about alcohol. I'll leave all the drugs off the story, right? And but I went in there and they started talking about this thing called honesty. And up to that point, I thought that if I was honest, I'd be punished. I thought that if you really knew me, you wouldn't like me. I thought that if I really told you my story, that they might not let me out of there. They might send me someplace even more severe. However, that wasn't the case. And I found out that there were a lot of people just like me. I found out there were a lot of people that had this same kind of thing that I had, that they found it virtually impossible to stop drinking or using drugs no matter how bad they wanted it, no matter how bad I wanted it. Up to that point, until my daughter was born, I'm not sure if I ever really wanted to stop. But now I wanted to stop and found out I couldn't. I couldn't under my own power, that is. And what happened for me is about a week before I went to that 28-day program, I was standing up at work and I was by myself and I didn't know if I was going to kill myself. I didn't know if I was going to run away. I didn't know if I was going to ditch everything. I didn't know what I was going to do. I had no answers left. And I just looked up and asked the universe, God, if you will, for help. And I haven't taken a drink since that day. And I ended up in that 28-day program. And I remember going in there thinking that I'll just get through it. But something happened in there. They brought a guy from AA in and he told his story and it hooked me. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel all alone with what was going on in my head. I didn't feel all alone with what all the turmoil inside, all the restless nights, all the fear, all the anxiety, all the depression. But this guy wasn't like that anymore, and he'd gotten into recovery and had a transformation in his life. And I really wanted what this guy had. I don't even know what that guy's name was, but he was like an angel. And I broke down that day and I realized, the severity and depth of my illness, and I didn't think that a guy like me could recover. I thought I was too far gone. I thought I'd done too many horrible things. And I must have been wearing it. And another angel that was working at that facility came up to me, and I must have been wearing it on my face. And she just merely said to me, "What's wrong?" I said, "I don't think I'm going to be able to get clean and sober." And she looked at me and says, "Don't you know that you've already been forgiven? Why don't you forgive yourself? You're in a place to get well. This universe is loving you more than you've ever could imagine." And I went back to my room and I was broken down crying, which was a new thing for, this, all the walls I'd put up. I would never let anybody see me cry or show emotion before. I was taught not to. And I went back to my room and knelt down with my roommate. He coerced me into saying a prayer with him. And if you would have asked me an hour before that experience if I saw myself kneeling with another man praying, I would have told you were crazy. But I did it because I wanted to get well and I wanted to help. And something happened that night. I had a different thought. I had a thought that I might be okay. And I never had that thought before. And as a matter of fact, it proved to be that I was okay, and I haven't drank or drugged since then. I got out of there and took all the suggestions that people were giving me. I went to AA religiously. I got a sponsor. I worked the 12 steps. I got involved in service work, and it's led me all the way all through these years to still doing service work. Working for air has like been the biggest blessing. I worked at a job for 31 years and have a retirement. I collect Social Security. I've been married for 21 years. All of those things were unsustainable in active use. In recovery, all those things became sustainable. And what a beautiful gift recovery is. To understand that it was an illness and not weakness or stupidity or just being bad was so refreshing to me. And a concept that I had heard but didn't really believe until I really looked at the differences between like people that don't have this illness and myself. And the great part about it is with treatment and with help and with powers other than my own thinking and my own drive, I get a chance to recover and I get a chance to pass this on. So I think one of the most important aspects of my recovery was the human connections that I made and the sense of community and how people showed me how to live again. I didn't realize that my addictions had taken me away from everything that I was passionate about. When I was young, I loved to be out in the woods walking. I loved to play sports. I loved to play music. I loved to read and expand my horizons that way. And all of that I realized when I was in that rehabilitation facility was gone. I was living, one might say, just to drink and drug. And a beautiful thing happened up there, which I think led me and primed me for the life I have today. A girl came in and she sang and played a guitar. And had a beautiful voice and her guitar playing was immaculate. And I used to play, and I'd sold all my guitars for drugs and booze, and I was sitting there pretty much a broken spirit at that point. I think I was even crying, and I said to her, "I used to play." And she did this thing that I thought was so generous. She said, "I'll leave my guitar here, and you can play it anytime you have free time." And I never have forgotten that kind of kindness and generosity. And that began to spark this passion I have for life again. It made me realize that maybe this recovery thing could be worthwhile, because I had a stigma in my mind about recovery. What am I destined to be in church basements saying the Serenity Prayer for the rest of my life? And that's not the case. Shortly after that, I went to an AA picnic and they were playing softball. And I was a good ball player back in the days. Matter of fact, that's one of my regrets. I played in Silver Stadium in my junior year, and I didn't even play baseball my senior year because I was old enough to go to the bar. So you see how my addictions were taking me away from things that I even loved to do. And this guy saw me playing, and he goes, "Hey, you look pretty good. Do you want to play on a softball team?" And I played probably 20 more years of softball on different types of leagues. But, it was the AA guys, and, we got to have some sober fun together. And then our New Year's Eve party, a guy came up and was just one guy playing the guitar and singing again. Again, I said, I used to play. And he goes, well, here, let's play a few. And we got together and we started playing. And now we play AA picnics and what have you. A bunch of us played up here at our 5K for CASA-Trinity here last summer. And, I have a music jam here. And that's why I think why I'm really passionate about what I'm doing today. I retired from my job 7 years ago, and I got approached to come work for Adventures in Recovery. When it first started, I was Sean Smith's first volunteer. And I walked into his office, and he was sharing a desk with the IT guy at the outpatient clinic. And I walked in, and he says, we're just going to do this thing. And I thought, okay, whatever that means. And that week, I think it was that week, we put a calendar together and we started doing some outdoor exercises and we started doing some hikes, and it's grown and flourished since then. And I get a chance and I get this opportunity to interact with people who are in residential programs, who are in inpatient clinics, who are in outpatient clinics, who are in supportive living places. And probably in a week's time, I probably get to interact with like somewhere in the neighborhood of 100, 200 people in recovery. And how amazing is that? Uh, and I didn't plan all of that. I think when we asked for help, or when I asked for help, something opened up in the universe and just kind of guided me to wherever I needed to be. Um, even my job of 31 years was a form of service work. I worked for a municipality and took care of the health of that community. And I didn't realize that was a form of service work, of giving back. I was always a taker when I was using and drinking, and I got an opportunity to give back. And this community that I fell into, where we really look out for one another, became so important. And it's true that we have lifelong friends. It's another thing I realized in that rehabilitation clinic, that I didn't really have one person I could talk to, one person that really knew me, you know. And got friends now that I've had all of my recovery. I have made those lifelong friends, and shoulder everything that life has thrown at me with them. And that's pretty amazing. A story I always like to tell is, not long after we started Adventures in Recovery, we went on a hike at Robert Treatment Park, and this girl came out, and frankly, she wasn't in very good shape. And not long into the hike, she started saying these things like, why did I think I could do this? I'm so stupid. I'll go back to the van and wait for you guys. Uh, I shouldn't have even tried this. But we wouldn't let that happen, right? She was part of our community. And I went back and walked with her for a while. Sean went back and walked with her for a while. Joyce from prevention went back and walked with her for a while. And we got her through the hike. And at the end of the hike, she's got her fists raised, a huge smile on her face. Me being the old AA guy around here, I just looked at that and I thought, oh my God, that is so symbolic of what recovery is. Left alone in isolation, that mountain, that hill, that hike looks too hard to accomplish. But with that sense of community and that connection, the seemingly impossible became possible for her, as it does for all of us. And not only did she make it through that hike because of that connection, she asked me to train her a couple times a week, and now she goes out on almost all of our hikes, and we got her up Whiteface Mountain this summer, and she's the one out on hikes now reaching back for the other person. Again, so symbolic of how this recovery generates and keeps sustainable and keeps going and keeps moving when we reach back and help the next person. And I see that in her. Come to find out, she really didn't have a substance use disorder, but she had some mental illnesses that were really, a problem in her life. And she found that this human connection and this way that we live in recovery also helped that. One of the things we talk about when we give a presentation is that we're all recovering from something. And the human connection that we provide here for, not only people in recovery, but for the community just seems like so important and such a beautiful design for living that is encapsulated in most recovery programs like the 12-step program, the 12-step process. So I'd like to talk a little bit too about the hope that was given to me and hopefully that I help pass down to other people as well. I think that's what we are in the field of you know, alcoholism and drug addiction treatment. Are We're hope dealers because I was pretty well hopeless and people gave me hope. And I like to pass that hope on. Uh, I never thought for a minute that I could quit drinking and drugging and change my life the way that it has changed. That daughter that was born in 1989, she's 34 years old and she's had a sober dad for 34 years. You know, I sustained a job for 31 years. I've been married for 22 years. I think I said 21 earlier, but my wife would not appreciate that maybe. But anyways, you know, uh, we have a great relationship, and I know none of those things were sustainable in active use. So if anybody doesn't believe that they can change their lives, I'm here to tell you you can. I'm here to tell you that anything is possible. Um, there's evidence. There's so much evidence. You know, I think one of the biggest historic understandings that came about in history was addiction and alcoholism being an illness, starting all the way back with Dr. Silkworth and Bill Wilson, the founder of Alcoholics Anonymous, realizing that there was a difference and that the remedy was, this human connection and finding power other than ourselves and understanding our humanness, right? And so these treatment facilities that are all over the place, they're more than willing to stretch their hands out, more than willing to take people in. The 12-step programs that are prominent in every community. I came back to my own community and I didn't think I could. I got arrested in the middle of Main Street, my last arrest, for the village I worked for. And it was a humiliating experience. And I didn't even think I could go back to that community. And I did, and survived, and thrived, actually. And my seemingly ill fortune became good fortune. Uh, the day that I got arrested, I took a swing. Wanted to punch our chief of police as he was arresting me. And I didn't go very peacefully. And, I got a chance to atone that with that gentleman. And what eventually happened is we became friends. And he would actually come and get me sometimes to talk to somebody that was in the throes of their addiction or alcoholism, because he knew that I'd gotten better with it. And he knew that I was someone that he could count on. And that meant a lot to me, you know. And I, uh, I really, one time he came up to an AA meeting and he waved his finger at me and he said, "Hey Dave, come here. I got somebody I want you to talk to." When he first appeared at the door, my mind went to like, "Oh my God, what have I done now?" But he just wanted me to go help somebody. And I went down and I talked to this guy, and he was all beaten up and bloody and hopeless. And he had tried AA before, and he had tried treatment before, and I talked with him for a little while, and until the ambulance came and they took him away to detox and eventually to treatment. And he's one of the success stories. He's sober to this day. And it's not because of me. It's just because of that community connection, right? It's because of the reduction of stigma that's happening out there, even with our law enforcement. That chief of police came and got a guy from Alcoholics Anonymous to talk to another sufferer. And how beautiful is that? So hopefully what we do here with these videos is reduce that stigma that's out there and encourage people and law enforcement and probation offices and drug courts that there is a community of recovering people. We're more than willing to help, and there is hope, and we do recover. Thanks. That's all I have.